Man, what a super cool night. Like, as a retiree, you don't get this very much, so I can't tell you like how awesome it is to be here. So Colonel Ryan, Chief Christensen, Mrs. Christensen, thank you for being here. Thank you for the invite. Thank you for all this, the hospitality that Luke has shown my wife and I. It's absolutely amazing. To the commanders, chiefs, first sergeants, officers, NCOs, airmen, teammates, family members, people here in attendance tonight, thank you very much for being here. I know it means so much to your loved ones' service and their promotion. And then if you haven't heard it already, just a huge thank you for the recognition ceremony team, to the volunteers, setup, teardown crew, the amazing catering team, the national anthem singer, LT, that was amazing. Wherever you are, chaplain, that was great. To the MCs, to the honor guard, to everyone who had a hand in tonight's ceremony. How about a round of applause? To the spouses and families of the new chiefs, if you would do me a favor and please just stand up and be recognized. Come on now, come on, don't be shy. Don't be shy. There you go. This is a small crowd here tonight. Like this is a relatively like small, intimate crowd, so we'll just kind of keep it real. I'm sure every speaker that you've seen for one of these has said that very thing, but I will tell you this, in retirement, like whether you retire or just get out of the service, once you take off the uniform, you're so very proud of what it meant to wear it, and I really appreciate families' service alongside their spouse, like infinitely more that I've taken off the uniform. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for everything that you've gone through, everything that you've sacrificed. It won't end up on an EPR bullet. You're not going to get medals. You're not going to get recognized. But like right here, right meow, thank you so much for everything that you have done. And then to my smoke show of a wife, Allison, thank you for putting up with all of my shit. Just for the deployments, for the 10 years that we were together that I was in, I spent approximately 6 years of that gone. And so, 11 combat deployments, different things. I spent the last 2 years of my career away from her and our kids. And now in retirement, I'm still gone all the time. I leave Sunday for 2 weeks on the road for all that kind of stuff, for all the stuff that you do to sacrifice and continue letting me live my dream on behalf of our family and our sons. Sweetheart, I love you. To our new chiefs, to the 9 chiefs here in the room, congratulations. At a quick kind of look at your services, I'm looking at 14 different associate degrees, 5 bachelor's degrees, 2 master's degrees, and 32 meritorious service medals. How about a round of applause for your awesomeness? And, I wanted to write a speech about this, but I really wanted to speak from the heart as well, which is like really, really great because this room is absolutely perfect for this type of talk. And so what I wanted to share, I wanted to be from the heart. And in preparation for this, in putting this together, obviously, talked to the command chief, talked about what this wing does. I've lived here in Phoenix for the last 6 years that I've been retired. And one of the coolest things that I've seen, and I saw it driving into the base tonight as far as the ABCs and the priorities for the wing, when we're talking about airmen, the basics, and culture. And through my 25 years in service, I've never seen anything so perfectly succinct on what people need to focus on. And like it's really inspiring to watch that happen, happen from the moment you drive onto base. So having that as a marker for how you're going to guide your presence here in the military, whether you're a chief, whether you're enlisted officer, whatever, I think that's absolutely phenomenal. And this week in preparation for this, I was watching the War Department senior enlisted leaders go on Capitol Hill and talk about what they were going to focus on for the evolution of their service and or the enlisted corps. And Chief Master of the Air Force Dave Wolf, whom I've known for 10 plus years, who started out as just like a great dude, And now he's Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, which is like so amazingly awesome for me to know someone who was just a good dude to begin with rise to these ranks. He's phenomenal, but his words were, we must ensure have the airmen are training, and then he's talking about it's not either readiness or modernization, it's both. We are committed to getting this right and proving it with action. And I think as far as being a new Chief Master Sergeant in today's United States Air Force, as you're prepping for the 5th and 6th generation fight, I think that's absolutely phenomenal. So the advice that I would have today is a mix of things that I've learned since I retired and things that I wish somebody told me when I first became a chief. And as it should be, it's going to talk about like tactical, operational, strategic, but first it's going to talk about personal. So this tonight, and if you haven't already sewn on, your promotion night, like celebrate it well, celebrate it hard. Inside the fighter community, you're talking about Air Force Weapons School. You hear people talk about being humble, approachable, credible, which is absolutely great. I don't think that's wrong for a second, but somewhere we get lost in the sauce where we really don't celebrate our awesomeness, and we really don't take the time to recognize that you are a 1%er. That you have achieved something super great. Less than 1% of Americans ever wear the uniform. And of the uniform inside the enlisted corps, only 1% ever rise to the rank of Chief Master Sergeant. That is a significant accomplishment. So whether you do that here tonight, and whether you need to call AADD for getting a rage here at the tables, or we're going to hit the E Club after, or turn into a night on the town, or maybe just some candlelight, nightcaps before you go to bed with your loved one or family. Celebrate your awesomeness. Take stock in the fact that you have achieved something tonight very, very significant. I know I didn't necessarily do that. I was on MAGCOM staff, and chiefs were a dime a dozen as that turned out, so I felt really great about it, but I was just kind of one of the herd. So I think you have a unique opportunity to celebrate what you have done here. So please, if you haven't already promoted, please take the time to recognize and reconcile that your service has been significant and you have achieved something truly, truly great. It can be about the airmen later, right? But these small pockets of time where you get to celebrate it, by all means, take that time. My advice as far as the tactical level of warfare on what I think our new chiefs should focus on is keeping yourself ready for you and your organizations, but more specifically, your families. I did a horrible job of this when I was in. It wasn't until I heard Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force Wright talk about work-life balance, and remember him talking about 210-5-7, and any of those things, like it went for, some people didn't hear it, which was very, very odd to me, but he talked about work-life balance and take 2 hours a day for yourself and whatever kind of restores your soul, take 10 hours at work, 5 hours at home disconnected from work, and then 7 hours of sleep for you. I'm not here to say like whether you're a cop or a maintainer, 10 hours at work would be a super, super light day. I absolutely get that. So I'm not saying that those numbers would have a good or direct correlation to your duty day or your life. But for you, for your family, whatever that is, have the conversation about what work-life balance means to you, but also evolve that concept into work-life harmony. Like work-life balance is 6-6-6-6, right? That's what that would play out to. So this work-life harmony where you can surge and when you can chill. We can have really, really tough times and then you can have very, very easy times. Make sure you're very proactive with your families, and then families, if you're here hearing this tonight, make sure you hold your chief accountable to that work-life balance, right? That work-life integration, whatever those numbers are, make sure you're proactively having the conversation. I'm way more purposeful with this now in retirement, and I'm here to say that I wasted years being a crappy husband, a crappy father, and perhaps crappy's tough, right? I just know I could have done better, right? And if better is possible, good is not enough. That's not me. I think that's Ben Franklin. And then along that last part, when you get to be a chief, you see so many retirements, and you see different retirements. Some people who are there, and there's tons of family, and then sadly there's some with not much family. So the last bit of advice is, as you're making your career choices now as a Chief Master Sergeant, make sure you run out of career before you run out of family. I've had too many friends who had a very small retirement because that hadn't gone so well for them. So be ever mindful for how that works out for you. On the operational level, chiefs, for the teams that you serve, for the people that you support, I want to point to our core values. And I've got significant scar tissue built up on this because I had too many leaders who abused one of our core values, and that's service before self. And not that I think service before self is bad, but I had too many leaders, too many times, who treated that like service always. When it was a tough decision and people's lives were in the balance, they would say, well, the mission has to come first, which I absolutely get, but I would get that more when I was in a deployed environment, and not necessarily so much here in garrison. Like what mission's gonna come to a screeching halt if I look at the human side of whatever tough decision we are about to make? Like that was super, super tough for me. So to me, service before self implies that self is part of that equation. And I had too many leaders who didn't see that, who didn't understand that we're talking about the human weapons system. We send airplanes into depot level maintenance, but we don't do that for human beings. And so on the tactical level, chiefs, know that there are humans behind that uniform, that we may not know when they're struggling, we may not know when that's going to be tough. And to me, service before self is probably a 51 minimum kind of percentage, where 51% of the time, the Air Force is going to win, or the War Department is going to win, or the country is going to win, because tough things have to happen. Go to war, surge, fight the enemy, absolutely get that. But that other 49% is where you get to have sick kids. Maybe you're gonna have some mental health struggles. Maybe we have people fighting cancer. Maybe we have pregnant spouses who need support here and there, and that whole the mission has to come first thing. Maybe there's a little bit more humanity to be had with that conversation. I think that gets lost way too often. Hopefully I'm wrong, but still for some of the speaking and teaching that I get to do throughout the world, still shows that seems to be a pretty prevalent thing as well. And then lastly, on the strategic level of warfare for our new Chief Master Sergeants, one of the topics that I've been researching for a few years now as it turns into my doctoral studies is that we're kind of at odds with the philosophy and the understanding and the practical application of leadership as we understand it in a combat sense versus in garrison sense. And I say that because, show of hands here, how many people in their military service have been told, don't ask why, just do what you're told? Show of hands. That's a whole lot of hands, right? And from the dawn of warfare until probably September 10th, 2001, that made sense. We needed to be trained to hear a command and execute a command. Is that fair? I would say so. And what we were taught in basic training, or whatever version of basic training we went to, we were told that we were the world's greatest Air Force and the world's greatest military because of our military discipline. And that's what separated us from everybody else. But here's the thing. If we simply do what we're told, if we're given an order, we execute that order, that is not discipline. That's obedience, plain and simple. And obedience had a place on a modern battlefield since, again, the dawn of warfare, through Vietnam, all that stuff, because limitations in communication and technology, you needed to hear a command and execute a command, and nobody questioned it. Because without even thinking about it, they kind of understood that dynamic. Case in point here, show of hands. How many people are frustrated that they can't FaceTime with their friends on Mars right now? That is likely the dumbest question you have ever heard in your entire life. But in 50 to 75 years, that could very well be a question. That could very well be a frustration. But we don't think about it now because it doesn't occur to us, because we don't have that technology, we don't have that communication skill. Just like the people who they understood, hey, don't ask why, just do what you're told. That measure of obedience was built for mass, large force, high intensity conflict, war of attrition. You just had to have the numbers and do what you were told. That made sense. That's like the mass style of warfare. But ever since September 11th, we've grown past that, either in the special operations realm or even the United States Air Force and Space Force, where we are built and echeloned for specialty. We apply a highly specialized level of warfare where people have unique skill sets that are used at a specific time for a specific net gain for the synergistic effects of the joint application of firepower in a three-dimensional battle space. That's what we've been trained to do. And so I see this when we're talking about some of the old school standards, which I'm all for. I'm all about adherence to standards. Some of our standards are a bit archaic. When we came out of World War II, we adopted the standards of the time, clean-shaven, high and tight, everyone wore a cap. That was professionalism back then in the late 40s and early 50s. Maybe we need a look at that. And I think philosophically, metaphorically, the allowance of ponytails right? The allowance of tattoos, like sleeve pony, yes, right? Not only do I think that's great just for the wear of a combat helmet for females in combat, but that can be professional too. We need to evolve some of these things. So I think our younger generation, they can't articulate it. They haven't been around the service long enough to understand the difference between the mass style of obedient warfare and the specialized nature of what y'all are called to do. And that's the advice I have for chiefs right now. I get to speak to airmen relatively frequently. And I would ask that you would just kind of consider for yourself what your service does, what this new stripe is going to do for you, and what you are going to help the Air Force evolve into for a 5th generation and 6th generation fight. And so I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you for having me here. Chiefs, celebrate tonight, celebrate well, like drive safe, don't fry bacon naked, all that fun stuff. But celebrate this amazing accomplishment. For you on the tactical level, take care of yourself and look at that work-life harmony. For the teams, realize that there are human beings wearing the uniform that need that, and that service before self is not service always. And then help the Air Force evolve. Help leaders understand the evolutionary nature of what the United States Air Force does as we transition from the mass level of obedient warfare to a highly specialized, highly personal understanding and practical application of warfare. So I salute every single one of you. Thank you for having me here tonight. I appreciate every single one of you, and I hope to see you around Phoenix. Thank you very much, and may God bless the U.S. Air Force. Thank you.